One of the most profound things I found about Oliver Mtukudzi's music was his extensive and fearless discussion on the sacred topic of death. I don't think there is any musician who has ever delved so much and so deep into the dreaded topic as much as he did. Most musicians don't discuss death at all, and those who do just sort of skim over it or mention it in passing, which is very strange because death is an integral part of the human experience, and his music clearly explains why. Oliver Mtukudzi took the time to truly pay respect to those who lose their lives and what it means for those who are left behind. Among such iconic records, he wrote such as Mabasa, Pasi Panodya, Tungamira, Mubindu, Tinomuchema, Panorwadza Moyo, and so many more. He brilliantly portrayed the reality, feelings, and emotions of the setting of death, and of course, what it all means. So in this rather grim latest special edition, let me see Africa present the philosophy of Oliver Mtukudzi and the meaning of death. Part 1. The sentiments of death. The two greatest issues Oliver Mtukudzi has with death are also universal human grievances, that is, its unpredictability and how it ruthlessly severs loved ones forever even with no warning. Sentiments he wrote down directly for Rufundima Dzongonyotse and Naria. Rufundima Dzongonyotse Anoya Tisingafungire mambo Dima Dzongonyotse chete baba Rufundima Dzongonyotse Pade waka yanana Because of these two facts, many strong, often overwhelming dark emotions are evoked in the hearts of most human beings upon loss. Such emotions like shock, disbelief, denial, confusion, resentment, despair, sadness, misery, fear, uncertainty, anger, or heartbreak, and many more all come with the break of death. They are all complex emotions Tuku has portrayed in all of his records, one or the other. From even early on in his career, Oliver Mtukudzi recognized the presence of death, and later on in his career, his records became more somber, emotionally and lyrically sophisticated and detailed, as someone who has faced death increasingly with age. As someone who drew inspiration from his own personal life for all his music,
writing music is not a thing that you need to sit down and plan and have a roster that on Wednesday afternoon I'm going to write a song. You can't do that. I mean, it's something that comes in, it's a feeling, you feel right. You want to do it, and then you do it right there.
Oliver Mtukudzi's records were so raw with emotion, it wouldn't be surprising to hear that most of his records about death were recorded immediately after he attended a funeral of a person close to him, such as here with this heartbreaking opening sequence that echoed the soul of a truly broken man in Mubindu. With this, he explores all the universal incidents and grieving associated with death, from that shocking moment when the loved ones receive the news to the processing itself of the emotions as the relatives try to accept this new grim reality. Most people are usually rendered into a state of shock and disbelief upon first receiving the news of someone's passing, a complex, gloomy feeling Tuku captures very well with Mabasa. It's real art when he is conveying certain messages before the words themselves are even sung. Tuku was very good at doing this, whether he did it by his sophisticated and solemn folk guitar line or trademark quote, Tuku cough. This is exactly what Tuku does. It opens with a haunting whimper of disbelief of someone who just received shocking news that is hard to believe. It's done so well, you instantly get the tragedy that has been bestowed on the people's unexpected hands when he says,
Mabasa,
indeed, his smoky vocals and haunting guitar folk melody and some plain moans at times made his songs feel so authentic. It gave you a doleful impression of someone who is genuinely in a dark time of mourning. He also shows other emotions such as confusion or resentment in his stripped down acoustic song, Unodada Nei, which he takes it upon himself to engage in a direct dialogue with death as a person thinly hidden as a man called Marufu. He asks this quote Marufu questions I think we ourselves would ask death if death was a real person. You know, why does it feel the need to cause so much pain and misery?
Marufu, Rufu, Marufu, Rufu, Unodada Nei.
He asks because of how it seems to be so proud because it is so prolific. But also in addition, reaches a point of anger and hopelessness with his rhetorical questions when he asks God in the organ-driven Mtukudzi. Again, as in Mabasa's opening sequence, he does not directly mention death directly, but the loud moans and cries kinda speak for themselves. Many people, especially men, often repress their feelings upon loss. However, he recognized losing someone close forever is painful. Though it happens every day, it's still not an everyday thing. There are no veterans when it comes to death. So through the raw emotion he shows in his music, as a man himself, he shows it's alright to cry sometimes and even feel those emotions associated with this loss. Part 2. Coming to terms with life and death. Mtukudzi lost a lot of close friends and family during his 66-year lifetime. Most infamously, his son, Mtukudzi, through a tragic road accident in 2010. But even before this, he had realized whether he likes it or not, like the rest of us, from a very early age that life and death are inseparable, an idea he had clearly again had shown in 1982's Pasipanojka, where he personifies death as a silent but very cunning and ruthless monster that consistently swallows its people all one by one. An intelligent allegory referring to how people are buried 6 feet beneath the earth once they die. And an idea he revisits in many of his later more somber records. He puts it best in Mubindu, which directly translates to garden or in the garden, when he sings life is like a garden and we are only flowers that grow in it, only for the best of us to be plucked out by the overseeing, all-powerful gardener. The fact that death will always be around us is a reality we have or will never have control over. To some extent, it is really out of our hands at the end of the day whether we live or not, because death can come at any time and at any angle, whether it can be viral infection, sickness, any form of accident, natural disasters, crimes, or just being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Death is everywhere, which leads him to conclude in Mabasa in one of his most thoughtful lines he has ever written. He is implying for most of us to enjoy long-lasting lives, it does not only require healthy living and good choices, but a bit of luck as well, because not everyone who dies deserves to die. And come to think of it, he actually does even have a song too, called Raki, which speaks about this kind of fortunate people. In Mabasa, as he continues with this line, Kanakuru kungwara uku, tichavigwa na niko, which directly translates to, if we are so clever or lucky as to evade death for ourselves now, then who will eventually bury us in the future when our time to die also inevitably arrives? This further implements some really dark but very deep philosophy here. Meaning, even if you're one of those fortunate people he sings about in Raki who have long-lasting lives and luckily manage to evade death yourself, it still does not always mean that others around you will be spared. Part 3. The Afterlife and Moving On. For many centuries, the mystery of what happens after our demise has eluded humanity. The inhabitants of Earth so far have failed to reach a universal agreement as to what really happens to us after we die. However, different cultures and religions all have their own beliefs as to what happens in the afterlife. For example, Buddhism believes people get reincarnated as another creature, while most African traditional religions believe the deceased reunite with their ancestors who also died in the past. And as for Christianity, in perhaps the most widely spread belief, they believe people reunite with God, the Creator, who later decides whether we go to heaven or hell, considering how the deceased has lived on earth. All of these beliefs have helped humanity attempt to salvage some sort of meaning, consolation, and comfort from such a death-stricken reality. But still, all of these explanations are sort of vague and of course unproven. So naturally, still some artists like John Legend have asked God directly what death means and what happens in the afterlife. In Zimbabwe, such artists have done so too, such as Killer T in Tinzatinzwe or Simon Chimbetu in his prudent classic rhetorical record called Samatenga. Like Simon Chimbetu or Killer T and most other Zimbabweans in general, Tuku was a strong believer in Christianity too. Many songs such as Magumo, Rurimi Kangwenje, Hear Me Lord, and Dinemu Bunzo explore this Christian faith in his African sound. In Tinomu Chema, in one of his most moving, powerful vocal openings of a record anyway, he mournfully communicates and accepts the departure of a loved one on the family's behalf to God's domain. cannot change their death, he asks God for things he does think he can change, such as to accept their arrival to his domain, to take care of his beloved, and live with him or her in peace. Chinomu Chema relies heavily on using religion as a means to accept death. There is a lot of biblical imagery in the lyrics of direct interaction with God as a way of coming to terms with his pain. So how does the artist move on with life after such a tragedy? Well, as written in Genesis 6 verse 3, it reads, "Then the Lord said, My spirit will not contend with men forever, for he is mortal. His days will be 120 years." When you listen closely to records like Tungamira, Mubindu, and furthermore in Chinomu Chema,
Tungamira, mwana, tinoteveraka, ndiyo nzira yedu.
you realize although Mtukudzi believes death isn't really a goodbye, but more of a till we meet again, since you die also eventually. Wiki deconsolidates this idea too in Panorwadza Moyo. Yes, those who died before us simply cleared the path for us to follow. This is Tugo accepting the grim reality of all those he has lost, but also accepting his own mortality. The fact that one day he will be buried as he had sung in Pasi Panojga, beneath the earth as well. The reality, and as Wiz Khalifa rapped in See You Again, we are all in a road, and like every road, there will come a time it must reach its defining end. So as I said, it's not really a goodbye, more of a till we meet again. In conclusion, perhaps the reason most musicians stay away from the topic of death is of how sensitive and depressing it is. Can't blame them though. Dealing with thoughts of your mortality can be quite a heavy burden to carry, which made these Legends records even more special. To be bold enough to explore all those little dark emotions in such a well-crafted and dignified way was simply class. But I don't believe Tuku's prolific discussion on death is to be a downer or a cynic or anything like that. I think it's more of consoling those who have lost someone special in their lives, showing that death or loss is something universal to us as human beings. Everyone has lost someone special at one point or the other, as no human is immortal, offering a comforting shoulder to show that they are not in it alone. He has gone through it too, and it's okay to cry when it happens. Through these reminders on death in these iconic records, he further reminds the listeners that life is too precious and short to waste it. The day you spend is a day you will never get back, and the closer you edge to your death. Yeah, it's an uncomfortable fact, and this video probably wasn't that comfortable either. But still, it's a fact. It's even more unfortunate that most people usually will never know when or how it will one day all end. So it is best to give this one life of yours your all. As Harlem Renaissance Jamaican poet Claude McKay once wrote in his classic poem, "If we must die, oh let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Then even the masters we defy shall be constrained to honor us though we are dead." Live your life in such a way that when it's time to go, you can look back with no regrets. That at least when that time comes, the only thing they will be bearing is your body and not your passion, ideas, visions, dreams, and legacy. With every new year or birthday you make it into, be thankful. And not just by words, but by the way you live should be a reflection of someone who respects and appreciates their presence on this earth, as well as for others who are no longer with us. Life isn't easy, but it's still too short and precious to hold grudges or sleepwalk through. Live it like you only live once, cause guess what? You really only do live once after all is said and done. I hope you have an awesome new year. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. Nimsi Africa. Hello guys, didn't mean to end the year on such a depressing deadbeat note, but if there's anything 2020 has taught me is that if you have things in life you want to get done, get them done as quick as possible, because time waits for no man. It's been quite an unforgettable year, and probably not for the most positive of reasons for most people, but as for the brand here, it's been another monumental year of growth. So thank you guys to those who watched our videos, liked and shared our Afro quirky content on all of our 4 social media platforms, and of course we are incredibly grateful to each and every of our many new subscribers we had this year. We thank you for giving us that opportunity to educate you about this crazy African art and history in our crazy ways. And of course, there are more original videos waiting for you up in 2021. There are just too many for me to even mention. Besides, I want to surprise you this time. So one more time for 2020, as always folks, thanks for watching. Africa.